Welcome back to my top 10 series. Last one we did, we covered the 10 best rides that Disney had to offer, so it's only fitting I take a look at the other side of the coin and talk about what I think are the worst rides in Disney World. So I apologize in advance if your favorite made this list, but without further ado, let's go to number 10. Alright, I know what you're thinking, just hear me out. So, first off, the line moves so slow and you're outdoors. So, a 45-minute wait in Florida humidity isn't a great start. Secondly, your ride experience is very dependent on where you sit on the boat. So, if you get seated in an awkward spot, you're spending 65% of this ride straining your neck to see what's going on. And Exhibit C is how good your skipper is. And I'm not talking someone who's new and struggling with their lines, but the PA system that they use is super loud when you're already in a fairly small boat. And if your skipper is a loud talker, you're guaranteed to have a headache for the rest of the day. And not even nighttime could help this ride because the lighting on this attraction is so poor you could barely see anything. So if you get stuck on this ride on a hot night with a loud skipper and a bad part of the boat, you might as well just burn the $200 ticket you just bought. So I'll admit that this one is a little bit unfair because I actually like everything about this attraction except the actual ride. I can tolerate most Disney thrill rides, but I can't stand being dropped. The feeling of almost throwing up isn't my idea of fun on vacation. And being dropped 13 stories is something I tried to avoid. It doesn't help that when I was a kid, my cousin tricked me by saying there was a version of this ride without the drop, only to find out the hard way that he was lying. So nothing like a little childhood trauma to influence your YouTube video Disney list. So this is the last one that I feel is still a decent ride, but it's not good enough for me to look forward to on my next trip. By no means do I think it's a terrible ride, but I can't say it stands out either. Given its relatively short length, coupled with the fact that I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, just makes this the definition of mid for me. Also, the song at the end of this ride always depresses me, and I have no explanation as to why. Now let's talk about some rides that I don't like for one reason or another. The original Journey into Imagination was one of the best rides that Disney has ever made. Due to their sponsorship agreement with Kodak, they were guaranteed a new ride by the year 2000. They made a ride so bad that it was replaced within 2 years with this current attraction. While Lightyear's better than the second version, Journey into Imagination with Figment is just a cheap reminder of the greatness that used to be housed here. Hopefully one day we'll get something resembling of this once great attraction. I've noticed a trend with newer Disney attractions that they spend all this time crafting an elaborate queue full of games and stunning views that once it comes time to be loaded in your ride vehicle, it's over within 5 to 7 minutes. There might be one or two cool animatronics, but other than that, it's a shallow experience. Journey of the Little Mermaid, I think, fits that description perfectly, and whatever is happening to these turtles needs to be outlawed in all 50 states. Take everything I said about The Little Mermaid and apply it to this roller coaster. Ironically, both were crafted during the Fantasyland expansion from 2012 to 2014. I guess in this ride's defense, it ran into many budget cuts, but the scale down makes this a very bare bones attraction. I guess I can't go too hard in it because it's considered a beginner's roller coaster, but the combination dark and thrill ride we were promised just boils down to one great mine scene, and a handful of tight turns before you get back to the loading area. I don't even know if most people consider this a real attraction. It's just bumper cars on a rail with actual bumps being frowned upon. I do actually have memories of going on this with my dad when I was little, only to find out that he actually hated this ride. And the only reason why he went on is just so I could drive and crash into people at the end. Because who's gonna yell at a 5-year-old who's fender bending you at 3 miles an hour? So whatever father-son bonding time I thought we had and I could look fondly on, is tainted just so we could laugh at other people's expense. I don't know if this is a fair criticism, but I can't stand it when Disney puts generic rides in their parks. That's probably why I don't like Soarin' or Flight of Passes as much as other people. It doesn't matter how good a simulation ride is, we deserve more for the prices that we're paying. Kali River Rapids is in the same vein for me. This is something that would be fine and great adventure, but a raft ride with a loose environmental story isn't something that I make time for, no matter how you feel about the messaging. Just based off the ride, I always forget that it even exists. As a matter of fact, I just forgot about it. I waited my entire life for a dinosaur ride at Disney. The dinosaurs in Ellen's Energy Adventure was cool and all, but an entire ride dedicated to just these creatures was something that I always wanted. Then we got whatever this was. The ride is just so bumpy and you spend the entire time not to get sick. Plus, everything else is just so loud and dark you can't even make out what you're looking at. I always have to gaslight myself into thinking this ride isn't that bad, but I always come out wishing I went on something else. So, remember when I said I don't like simulator rides? Yeah, this is my number one culprit. It also made me sour grapes since this replaced probably my favorite ride of all time, Horizons. Go from such a groundbreaking attraction to this feels like such a slap in the face. Not to mention the interactivity of this ride just boils down to you hitting a button once it lights up. And even if you don't press it in time, the ride does it for you. Although I will say when I made my shorts video on this, I got a comment saying that this ride is a huge inspiration for astronauts and even pilots. So even though it may be my least favorite ride in all of Disney, that doesn't mean I dislike anyone else if they have an opposing opinion. That person did kind of make me change my mind on how I view this ride, but not enough to keep it out of the number one spot. But that'll do it for this episode. I hope I didn't upset anyone with this list. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your favorite ride is, just as long as you have lasting memories on the attractions that you love. And with a bunch of rides coming and going, this list could change by my next trip. But let me know if you disagree, and any rides that you think should have made the list. But until next time, drop a like if you enjoyed this, subscribe if I earned it, and thank you for watching.